All right, you guys, it is Thursday, and another one is going to bite the dust. If everything goes right, Kid Kerberos will lose his election, as well as idiot Mayor Gutierrez, who was not at the last city council meeting. But here's the funny thing. I asked a good citizen of mine that I've seen at the city council, and I met him, a fellow veteran, my man, Angel Lopez. Wait. Now, I'm not familiar with the Army rank as I should be. My mom was a sergeant first class. That's an E7.
Yes.
You retired as a master sergeant?
Master Sergeant E8.
E8. Okay, that's what it is. I just don't keep up with that. It's like what it's like the Navy rank. You just don't understand it. You're like S3.
Exactly.
You know. But Angel, you served in the Army. How many years?
Yes, Donovan. Hey, thank you for having me here on the show, and certainly a pleasure to be here and talk Moreno Valley.
Moreno Valley, exactly.
And to answer your question, I served for 24 years in the military.
Just like me.
I completed 16 years of active duty service, and the rest in the California Army National Guard.
AGR?
Not AGR, MB status.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
But what I can say is I had an incredible career. And, for your listeners out there that are listening to me for the first time, as a veteran, I currently serve as a public service employee for the federal government.
Awesome. I
hold a master's degree in business administration.
Wait. Now, you hear all these military people with degrees. The enlisted people are highly educated. So let me ask you this real quick, because you got a lot of young people in Moreno Valley that don't want to work at these warehouses. Some of them do. When I was here as a kid, the only option I had was join the military.
Right.
And I joined the military for the educational benefits.
Yes.
Can I ask you, what was your dig to join the military?
Well, again, like you, I joined the military also for the GI Bill.
Exactly.
To get the education benefits. And from what it was 26 years ago to what it is today, it's just amazing how it's grown.
Oh my gosh, yes.
To the opportunities. And what I can tell folks out there, if you're looking for an education, and whether you're middle class, low income families, there is always an option to obtain your education. Now the question is, how do you want to go about it? Do you want to take on debt, or do you want to, like the service, join the service for the GI Bill and get your education that way?
Right. Would you recommend if a person has nothing really going? I was a military kid, so I was already indoctrinated and stuff like that. But for you, was it a movie you saw or something, or you just said, "Hey, I for me to complete my education, I have to go this route because it's the only thing presented to me at this time"?
Well, growing up, I do recollect. I remember seeing that as a kid growing up, and seeing the Marines out there just running along the beach line, and I'm thinking to myself, "Wow, that could be me one day."
One day, yeah. But you were smarter and said, "I'm going to the Army." I'm like,
I went to the Army. Nothing against our Marine Corps brothers.
Right.
The Army was it for me because I did want to travel the world.
Right. So you went to boot camp where?
I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, the home of the field artillery.
Yeah, my dad was field artillery in Vietnam. So
wow, Vietnam.
Fort Sill, yeah.
And Fort Sill, as for those of you that know, Fort Sill is the home of the field artillery for the United States Army and the Marine Corps. They go there initially for their artillery training. It's around the Lawton area in west of Oklahoma City.
I did flight training C5s over there at Altus, Oklahoma.
Altus just down the road,
right down the road.
Yep, that's right.
A lot of partying in Lawton.
Lawton's got a lot going on. The way the artillery has changed. But for the listeners out there, hey, look. Going back to your question about if you're a kid growing up in this community, and if you don't have anything going on, join the military. That paid for my college, and I was very, very fortunate and blessed to be in a position to continue my studies for the master's degree, which I paid out of pocket.
Right. In your Army travels, you went overseas to...
I spent 5 years in Germany on 2 different tours. I was there in the early 90s and then again in the late 90s.
Okay.
I spent time in Fort Lewis, Washington.
Oh, love that area.
Pacific Northwest, great place. I spent time in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And in between my travels to different parts of the country, either for training or other missions, I had one mission in the year 2000. I went to fight forest fires in Montana when I was in Fort Bragg. So that was quite...
Augmented, yes. Hey, get over there. Let's go.
Let's go save some trees.
Yeah, exactly. Man, that's awesome. And I'm going to tell you, like I said, I don't really advocate people to go to the military if it's not your thing, because a lot of people don't want to go. But although when you go to college, everybody's got a degree, they're getting debt.
Right.
Now, how do you get out of that debt? Now, thank goodness, one of the good opportunities about being military, depending on your situation, whatever, if they don't outright pay for your schooling, they're not going to let you go to Harvard. They're not going to pay for that.
Right.
You know. But I went to Embry-Riddle, and and even after retiring from the military, I had over $50,000 worth of debt from going to that Harvard aviation school.
Wow.
And the vet rep calls me up and he goes, "You got any debt left?" I said, "Debt from what? I don't know what's going on." He's like, I said, "Yeah, I got some debt. Yeah, I'm thinking they're going to ask me for the check. Hey, you need to pay this thing out." I was like, "I don't have it," because I had no intentions of paying it. I was going to do the 30-year, because when I was in, they didn't pay 100%. They paid 75%.
Right.
So, I had a big chunk that was left to me, and I was paying bare minimum.
Wow.
And the good thing was, he said, the vet rep told me, fill out this paperwork. And I said, well, what's it going to do? He goes, I can't say they're going to release your debt. But he goes, they might.
Right.
You never know until you try.
Right. And any program that's out there available, and, I would highly suggest and argue for any veteran, if you're in debt or any circumstances, you have nothing to lose by trying to use your benefits.
Right.
And, if Congress legislated a benefit for you to use through the VA, go out and use it.
Go out and use it, exactly.
It's like the old saying, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly. And, the funny thing is I filled the paperwork out. 3 weeks later, I get a letter from the Department of Education. They said, we have discharged your debt. In 2 weeks, you will get another notice. We're reviewing it.
Right.
In 3 weeks, and 3 weeks came, discharged. I went to my credit report, paid in full. I was like, oh my gosh, what
Fantastic.
a blessing. What a blessing. And all that.
It didn't work out too well for them, whether they did not want to assimilate. And
Evan Moron, go ahead.
Be part of the military force, service member, have an opportunity to serve your country, travel the United States of America, go to different states, go to different parts of the world. It's just amazing travel.
Yeah.
The cultures, the foods you eat. But again, it's to the advantage of the person that takes advantage. It's there, it's available. What I would argue for those that are looking to take that route, you don't have to start at Harvard, as you said. Take baby steps. Look at the local community schools, the colleges that are around that installation, that base. Or if you're in the reserves, you can still use your your GI Bill.
Yeah, become a GI Bill.
Yep. Go to community college, start your way there, and then work your way to some of the bigger schools to get your bachelor's degree, and then eventually to a master's.
Right.
That's what I did. I started at Central Texas College.
Okay. Yeah.
In Germany with the local community campus there, and back then it was a little harder before online school became available. But over the years, when I started going to Camp Pendleton to finish that route, then I transferred to DeVry University with online school being available now. And eventually to my master's degree, I completed it 100% online. Right.
I mean, and you're proud because, you're working, you're doing your thing and you're getting your education because a lot of, back in the day, a lot of us vets, we do our 20-something years. Then you decide, okay, I'm going to go back to school now. You're 22, 23 years removed from the last time you sat in a desk, and guess what? You're the old guy sitting in the chair with these 18-year-olds.
Exactly. And going to that, a lot of the times, here I am. I got a full-time job working 8 to 11 hours a day, going to class, taking my online classes. So I'm putting in a 16, 17, 18-hour day just to pay the bills, as they say.
To pay the bills. So let me get you this. So after all your career, you decided to come back to the Inland Empire. What brought that decision on?
Well, a little bit about me. I spent 2 years on active duty service at March Air Base because a lot of the Air Force security forces deployed to Iraq.
Right.
So the Air Force reached out to the state of California and said, hey, we need a backfill of some of your troops to help us out. So the California Military Department, Army National Guard said, okay, we'll help you out. So that's when my National Guard unit mobilized for Title 10, and that's how I came to March Air Base for 2 years.
Wow. Where were you from originally in California?
I came from the San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
And that's where I was raised with my family.
Man, that's a good area. God, you came out to the desert.
Well, when homes are very expensive, I got to tell you, I've been impressed with the growth of the IE with homes, the affordability. Right. And, coming out here, I was just looking to, finish my military career, settle down, start a family.
Start a family over here. Okay, great. So in the time that you've been back, okay, so now you're out, you're looking about, you got the wife, you guys are saying, okay, this is where we're going to be. you've heard that we've had a lot of problems in the IE, or since the time you've been here as a military person. Because remember, as military people, we sit and we observe a lot.
Yes.
Because we're in a different status because we're not civilians, so we really can't give our opinions on certain things because we represent our organization.
Yep, exactly.
And sometimes you got to hold your tongue and just kind of.
You got to, because when you're in the military, you wear one uniform, you serve one flag for the United States of America. Mm-hmm. So politics there is no politics in the military. There's no left, there's no right, there's no Democrats, there's no Republicans. You are one.
Right.
You are one.
Right. And so, you guys, so you get out, you look at what's going on, and you say, okay, I'm in the IE, and wow, there's a disproportionate amount of warehouses are being built out here. And I don't know if, did you hear about the biggest FBI bribe?
I read about that. I saw some information, mainly from the Press Enterprise.
Right. What were your thoughts on that when you heard about that?
I just couldn't believe what happened, that a bribe was offered, it was accepted, and now,
Yeah, he'll be out in, I think, another 2 years. I think he's got 2 years.
To accept the largest bribe in the history of our country by a politician.
Yeah, elected official. Yeah.
Elected official just shook me to my core to live in this community that could happen here.
Right.
And it's just amazing that that's happening right here in our own backyard.
Right.
Wherever you go in every community, whether it's the San Fernando Valley where I once stood and lived, to other parts of the country, you're going to have your issues at the local level.
Sure.
But when you have a bribe to put a magnifying glass on that, and then to be, to resign from office because you took a bribe.
In disgrace, right? Right, and then and the funny thing is whenever these people get caught, then they get sick. Oh, I had a heart attack, and they go through the whole process. Now, let me ask you about another young gentleman that just came. He was in the Army.
Okay.
For 10 months, and he was in the counter. And let me ask you this: okay, you're in the Army, 24 years. You're a master sergeant
and a combat veteran.
Let me ask you this: in 10 months of Army training, can you do counterinsurgency and all this James Bond stuff in 10 months?
No, absolutely not, because the level of training and the years
it would take
to reach that level of proficiency and to develop the mentality. Mm-hmm. Because when you are involved in counterinsurgency, a lot of it has to do with being on the battlefield.
Right. You'd have to go to paratrooper school, all that, the different...
There's different building blocks of training that goes into
Ranger school, right.
Right, with weapons qualification, small arms training, just so many elements to be a complete soldier, to be able to be quantifiable and efficient on the battlefield.
Right. So... we had a young man who was on the school board, and he made these claims that he was countering, and then I caught him on it. And then he linked in. I got a picture of it, but he linked in and we wiped it out. Now, when I saw that in this young man, I said, okay, we've got a problem here, and we're going to continue to have a problem. This guy seems to keeps he's in a fantasy type world. And if you read recently, he got resigned from the school board. Evan Moron Morgan
resigned from the school board. I saw article releases about arraignment and other press releases regarding what I read was, don't quote me here, I'm just going off what I read in those published articles, moving an older lady out of the way, breaking and entering into a home,
vandalizing a vehicle,
and then purportedly having a firearm in their possession at that time when it happened.
And I heard that rumor, but then I'm kind of confused. I'm still trying to figure that out. The investigation brought them to Evan's home.
Okay.
I think that's where I read it, if I read it correctly, and they found supposedly he was in possession of 2 more ARs. I mean, he said he had sold them, but whatever it was drove him to the house, and they found the illegal vehicles or something like that, guns and stuff like that. But okay, so he's on the school board. All this stuff is happening. He gets elected under some really circumstantial type situation. We don't know how he got elected. But homophobic racial tweets, simulated forcible rape with dolls, blames it on his daughter, which, that's a dirtbag when you blame it on one of your kids.
Is this information out there for the public
Yes,
to see?
absolutely.
Yeah.
You can go to MV Gordy inlandempire.com, or you can go to the Inland Empire Informer. All that stuff is archived. It's all up there.
I'm scratching my head because retiring from the military 2 years ago, and now looking at things, from the perspective of, okay, I'm no longer serving in uniform, where I would travel, sometimes go out of state and go to other parts of the country to serve. So now I'm here at home. I'm stuck. I'm grounded.
Right. Paying attention.
What can I do as a retired veteran that can help my community, that can help Moreno Valley become, realize its full potential?
Right.
So I'm looking at things from that perspective of a citizen of the town, and a resident of the community. And when I peel these layers one by one, it sounds funny, but when I peel these layers one by one, and I'm seeing information presented from your sources, from other sources, I'm left here scratching my head.
The Press Enterprise.
I'm pulling my hair, and hey, I got a bald head. I shave.
Welcome, right.
I shave. And I got no hair to pull.
Right.
But I'm whatever whiskers I can because I'm just...
It blows you away, right? Now, okay, we've already talked about Marcelo Coe, Biggest Bribe. We've talked about Evan Moron. And then, let's see, who's the other guy? Tom Owens was the mayor. He got run out of here. There's a third guy. It's.
Are they in the city council? Are they running for office?
Well, that's a part of it, but okay, you have certain people here. Okay, Evan Moron, this guy. There's somebody else. Oh, Mike Rios. He was on the school board.
Mike Rios. Okay.
Mike Rios. I'm sure you heard about him.
I've read some articles.
School board member, pimping and pandering, blah 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 blah, you like that. Now, what do all three of these people have in common?
Well, from what I've read from what you've presented, and what I've read from what others have presented, and I've seen some sources that were backing, a lot of what was provided. As I understand, as I'm reading, it's, our town is not being run by elected officials that were put in place by the voters. As I'm reading, this is what I'm reading. I mean, I peel that layer and I'm looking at it from the outside looking in. And I'm just scratching my head thinking to myself, okay, who's running this town?
Right.
Who's running this town? And as I read more information presented from your sources and others, I see some filing forms with money being involved. I mean, it's their right. It's allowed by law.
Right. Some filing forms and just not being filed at all, missing filing forms.
I've read about that, some warning letters.
Okay. You're seeing all this, and you're 2 years into the new political system, and kind of catching up to what's going on.
Yes.
What is going through your mind when you hear all of this?
Well, when I hear all of this, and when I see all of this, and I research all of this, because I take information that you've presented, others have presented, and I follow up and do my own research.
Which is what I ask people to do.
I go to any available websites like Press Enterprise. I look at any other information.
Right,
available.
just Google whatever you can Google.
Right, Google whatever you can Google. And when I read this information, I'm just scratching my head thinking to myself, the things that are happening here right now, these are the things that happen in banana republics, third world countries. I mean, I've traveled the world, and I've experienced that in those parts of the world.
Right.
That should not be happening here in our town, in Moreno Valley, at all.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Moreno Valley is 58% Hispanic.
Okay, 58% Hispanic.
And, I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, you see my neighborhood here, mostly Hispanic now.
Okay.
I have no problem with that. I mean, and that's why when I see people going at each other, but you've got people like Victoria Baca, who's on the school, she's on the board, she has some very susceptible things. You have Luis Palomares, the clown, Luis Palomares. And, and the funny thing is, I'm looking at this, okay, the town is 58% Hispanic, and these, you got Gutierrez, these are the people leading the city. And, they're of Hispanic background themselves. And I'm thinking, what you're doing procedure-wise, you saw Gaiba recently, they've been making a skate park. Great, we want a skate park. Why would he have a skate park within 2 miles of another skate park?
What I would argue to that is this. I mean, when you're putting functions into a community, That's to the benefit of the community. However, if you're not spacing it out properly, because Moreno Valley is a big town.
208,000 people.
208,000 people, and I believe 30 square miles, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. But if you're putting one skate park not too far from another one, I mean, at less than a mile, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, less than a mile, yeah.
Where perhaps that skate park could benefit other parts of the community, other parts like in District 2 perhaps, maybe District 3,
right,
maybe even 4. Mm-hmm. But when you have them both in District 1, is that good efficient use of our taxpayer money?
I don't think so, and I live in District 1. I'm saying we already have one. That's why when Gaiba was saying, he did. I don't think anybody's against a skate park.
I was at the meeting too. That was my first time going to my first ever city council meeting.
Where were you shocked?
And when I left, I mean, I got home and I'm just pulling my hair out.
Yeah, and you're beat. You're just beat down.
I'm just beat, and as a resident, as a voter, I'm thinking to myself, it can't be this way.
Did you see the way Gutierrez shut down the meeting when the lawyer, Miss Sterling, was letting him have it, and then he was like, "Oh, yeah, cut down." In America, and I'm not. People say, "Well, they're saying, they try to make it seem like I'm a racial person." Black people, in my opinion, can't be racial. I mean, you got some, blacks,
right.
You've got some rednecks, and you've got some browns.
Yeah, you got some browns.
Everybody sticks up for their own.
Right. Everybody, folks in general are good-hearted people.
Right.
And their hearts are in the right place. Right. They want to do good and be good by their neighbors, sure. And help others out. I truly believe in helping out your neighbor,
yeah,
and helping out those that are less fortunate than you, because that's what this town's all about: helping those in need.
In need, right?
However, back to what you described during the city council meeting, as I was there. From my observation, again, I'm on the outside looking in.
Yes.
First time attendance. And I'm seeing just a certain set of folks allowed to speak and to project just, I won't go into that, but to project a certain tone and language. But then, fast forward to the next speaker on the, on the other side.
Right, left or right.
Left or right. And now all of a sudden you're letting this group speak not in the best of tone, but then when this group comes in with an educated tone, however, the topic is about you, not the other guy or the other council member.
Or they're pointing out discrepancies.
Right.
Where people are like, yeah, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Hold on.
If you're going to allow one sect to speak, you allow the other sect to speak freely in the same manner. Now, if you want to change the tone, make it so. Make it a more respectable tone. Not being loud, rude, obnoxious, and throwing out names and just tying names to different things.
Luis Palomares, I call her the clown because here's the woman talking about, she's against the guy that's against the kids. And no, these are good projects. The problem with the projects are it wasn't done procedurally correct.
Right. And I would argue nobody disagrees that they are good projects.
Right. Nobody disagrees with that. But there's a way to go about doing it. I don't want the city a manager who I know, who was in the Air Force, willy-nilly taking my tax dollars and just approving projects, especially when he doesn't live here. The procedure is the city council has to give him direction.
Right. There's a protocol. There's laws to follow. One of them, I understand, is the Brown Act.
The Brown Act. And these people are colluding, which is getting together.
Right.
They share a headquarters. So you can't tell me that they're not. I mean, they're going to fundraisers together with another council member, and since we're speaking of that council member, let's talk about that. Mr. Leroy Holt, Al Bundy Holt. I mean, this guy comes out of nowhere. He said he's been. I don't believe he lives in the city. Okay, he has property in Carson. He spends a lot of the time in Carson. He did his fundraiser in Carson. Everything is in Carson. He recently decided not to show up for a debate that he said he was going to show up at. What are your feelings on that?
Well, I read a release about that was shared. I saw it from your source and from others. And what I can say is, let me put myself in their shoes.
Sure.
Let's say, hypothetically, I'm running for office. And if I'm looking to earn your vote, I want to come to your neck of the woods, shake your hand, let's sit down and have a discussion, and you know, you can ask me your questions. What are your concerns? What do you want your government to do better for your community, for your neighbors, for you? And how can we make Moreno Valley a
better place?
I mean, just a better place. But the potential here, I mean, this Moreno Valley can be a roadmap for a lot of towns of the same size and stature to go a long way, because Moreno Valley, the potential is tremendous, both economically and with a lot of good prosperity, where all the citizens can truly benefit from it.
Okay.
But back to your question about that, putting myself in their shoes, I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes. If I were to run, I would meet with constituents. I would come into your neck of the woods, whether it's some of the social media groups out there that are putting together these events. For example, if you put together an event, and
which I've done.
Okay, which you've done, and you invite the candidates, and I'll say this as a service member, as a veteran,
Sure.
If you don't have the audacity to show up to speak to the voters that you're looking to earn their vote, to look them in the eye, shake their hand, and ask them for their vote and how you can earn their vote, then I just wouldn't run.
Right.
Why bother running?
Right, or voting for that person.
Right, because it's a disservice to the people in that district, this district, if you're not meeting with voters.
And Highland Fairview, I don't know if you've been watching my blog, I told people, Highland Fairview candidates do not show up to debates. I mean, I had a debate set up. Gutierrez was in the parking lot and took off.
I read about that recently, maybe a few weeks back.
Kid Kerberos had an event at the golf course. He promised the developer over there, he promised me, I'm going to show up. And all of a sudden, magically, he had a family emergency, but he was across town at another event that was sponsored by his mom, Victoria Baca. I mean, they don't show up to events.
Well, it's one thing to not show up if you're running initially, but to be an incumbent, sitting in that seat, representing the people of that district, to not show up,
Well, to me, to be a new voter or a new runner, like Leroy Holt, nobody's seen you, dog. Nobody knows who you are. You're some USC guy, whatever. You're living your glory years 30 years ago, and you're new, and you expect people just to come out and vote for you unless somebody told you something that we don't know. And of course, we all know that this is a town that whoever has the most signs and the biggest signs wins. We understand that.
And I've read that information, and to the gentleman that's running for District 2, to get recruited by USC, that's my football team. I love USC football, love it to death. That's great. When I deployed overseas to Afghanistan, I was watching some USC football.
Yeah.
I give props where it's due.
Right.
I'm gonna give him his due. He played college football.
Anybody that plays sports, I mean, we'll give you your due. But when it's over, it's over. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, when you're out of college and you move on to the NFL, you have a successful career, or you don't make it in the NFL, but you move on to something else.
Right. Props
whether
to you.
It's
you
education,
made it.
Business or whatnot, and you're making it. Great, props. Because you're doing something productive for to better your town.
Sure.
But then back to what you were addressing as far as again, I'm not running for office. Heaven forbid if I ever run, which I don't see that in my future.
It's a rough business. It's a rough business,
and you got to have a lot of skin in the game. You got to have a lot of thick skin.
Yeah, you do.
You cannot take anything personal from anybody. Right. If you're running for public office and you don't present yourself according to what you are, how you've been, and your background, like your education, if you run a business.
Yeah, you're going to get vetted. I mean,
if people vet you, and
they find stuff out.
If you're presenting one
narrative
or one vision, but then you got others that are resourceful presenting something different, it's best to show up to the debates, show up to the invitations, and it's very easy. You can set the record straight.
Right. You have to get ahead of the story, and that's what we're trying to tell them. Look, we don't care. Okay, we found this on you. Great. How do you answer that? Now, you got to go somewhere where you can answer this stuff. Get ahead of it so I don't have to label you. Like he got on Max, I labeled him Al Bundy, right? I labeled you Al Bundy because you let me label you Al Bundy. He could have easily came out and said, Well, yeah, I know I do a lot of football stuff, but I've been
Right.
doing this. I've been doing that. Okay, you say you owned a real estate business. We found out that that wasn't true.
Wow.
You know, just like Maury says, that was a lie. Okay, and so on and so forth. He's been here for 15 years. Nobody's seen him. You got property in Carson and stuff like. You spend most of your time out there. For all I know, you're a real estate guy. You're renting a place up in the 2nd District, which is a Highland Fairview tactic, by the way. So you make statements like, you don't know me, don't talk about me. Well, we're trying to know you. I'm giving them every chance in the world to say, hey,
Well, you put out an invitation, right, for folks to come out to the show.
Constantly, yeah. A lot of people are going to come. Yeah.
And when you put that out, I decided as a resident and a citizen of this town, okay, let me reach out to Donovan. I'll come out and I'll speak from the perspective of being a voter.
Being a voter. Okay.
I'm trying to put words into, to equate that.
Yeah.
And the best way I can, the best way I know how, is as a service member.
Okay.
It's better to take the hard right over the easy left.
Okay.
It's better to tell the hard truth over the easy lie.
Okay.
Because, what I'll say in the military in uniform, wow, you got to have thick skin, number one. You don't take nothing personal from anybody because people are going to hit you hard left and right.
Yeah.
Your peers, your leaders, but they're building blocks to build you into being a leader.
Right.
And as you served in your career, you were a leader.
Mm-hmm.
You were in aviation, airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
Myself in artillery. I trained and led many troops, not only in the United States, but out on the battlefield.
Right.
I mentor mates to become leaders themselves.
Right.
And it comes down to values. The values you present to the voters, the residents, you want to win their votes over based on not only your values, but how can you improve their lives? It comes down to improving their lives at the kitchen table, putting food on the table, making sure the family's fed, making sure all the bills are paid. That's what it's all about.
Right. So let me ask you, since you're coming from the perspective of the voter, which is why I love having new people in that are just kind of new and kind of seeing what's going on. Well, before I even get to that,
yes.
How do you like the website that I've been putting up, kind of putting some stuff out there, doing some digging? I mean, because people say that I'm a shit stirrer and I'm just stirring the pot. But I got that little website so people can go over there and do that, and then I do the Facebook thing as well, and I kind of share it within the different groups. And, I go to Facebook jail on a constant basis.
Well, there's going to be a lot of information put out, whether it's from the people running for office. It's their right that their campaigns are going to put out information. If they have a website or if it's a social media page, it's their right to do so to campaign. Sure. What I would argue, though, is that if there is, I wouldn't say opposition, but if there's research suggesting otherwise, information presented from a different perspective, you got to look at that. Mm-hmm. Look at all sides of the coin, peel every layer, turn over every rock, just like we do in the military. Mm-hmm. And when you've looked at everything and you're informed, now you can make a good decision.
Right.
Where if you're only looking at one side of the coin, but you're ignoring the other side of the coin, you're not really making a good decision because there's a good chance, 50-50 chance, you're not making a good decision.
Right.
So I would rather look at everything as a voter, look at every article, look at every campaign, look at every social media page or website that's out there.
Right.
You mentioned one in particular. I've seen it shared, and I read that information.
Yeah, a lot of people say I'm very mean and stuff because I put a one with Dr. Mary McBean. She's running for mayor. Oh. And it was kind of a hype on the Jurassic Park thing. And the reason I do that, if you're not involved in politics and you don't know who these people are, Mary McBean is, she's a very seasoned, let me say a seasoned lady.
Okay.
And she thinks Victoria Baca and the Highland Fairview 3 are doing a very good job. And that, and that's her opinion, that's fine. But I have a problem with somebody that says that statement, you're not the one that's going to run for mayor, you're not going to get my vote because I don't think they're doing a good job.
Right, and going back to the skate park and going back
how
to
they're taking care of our money.
The prior city council meeting where you argued for a bathroom at the local park from where you live.
And I want a porta potty. So could you give us a porta potty, something?
That is a valid argument. Every park should have a bathroom accessible for use because when folks are out there, people are out there, they're taking the family out.
Right.
It makes no sense for them to jump in the car, go to the nearest restaurant,
right, or home, all the way back home.
To use a bathroom when you got the infrastructure in place to put one.
Right.
I mean, that's just not, as a resident, as a voter, it's not good use of taxpayer money.
Well, here's the thing, and I know you're kind of new to the, you're not new, but you're kind of new to the politic.
Yes.
For about 25 years, the property taxes in the Edgemont area, if you go to City Hall right now, there's a map of the city.
Okay.
And Edgemont, there's a, I live in the newer part of Edgemont.
Okay.
So we're on the Eastern Municipal Water District.
Yes.
Pipeline. So we don't have the same problems as the real Edgemont. But back in the day when there was no Moreno Valley, this was Edgemont. That's all you can call it.
Edgemont, and what was it, Sunnymead?
Sunnymead is up north.
Up north.
Up north, and you had Moreno. In the east.
Okay.
In the east. So, and they all combined, whatever the deal is. And so I hate when people say, "Oh, you're not in a real Edgemont." Well, I'm in the map.
Right, you're in the map.
And because I'm in that map for 25 years, and a lot of people don't know this, they took our property tax for the benefit of where you live and for the benefit of where the east side of the city lives. That's why if you look at where I live and compare to where you live and the rest of the city,
right,
you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, there's a disproportionate, I would say...
and that was illegal, what they did.
Living circumstances. But as I understand, there was a lot of land available at that time, and so it was built. I know certain parts of town, you can only build so much because pretty much the infrastructure is already in place, and you can hardly build anymore.
Sure, but see, a lot of people don't know this. When you take, I pay about $2,000 a year in property tax.
Okay.
In this area, this is Edgemont. I'm paying like that. But when that property tax out that we do, as you know, it's supposed to benefit of my neighborhood.
Right.
I mean, they took all of the money and used it for everybody else, and that's why Edgemont looks the way it does. You know what I mean? And here I am. And notice the Edowitz never to say that I'm against the WLC, because I'm not against the WLC. I'm against where it's located.
Okay.
It should be here in Edgemont. This area has been deemed industrial.
Right, and you see a lot of the warehouses that have been built. They're already occupied. There's people there. There's
Riverside
there.
Riverside's building on their side of the 215. And
they're contributing to Moreno Valley, paying their taxes, employing people that live in the community. Right.
Right. And my thing with the warehouses is this. I'm from here. I'm an original person. So you're telling me that young people in Moreno Valley are only good for slave warehouse jobs?
No.
And here's my thing.
No.
Warehouses do not pay these kids. Okay, let's say I'm 24 years. Remember, we were young Thundercats at one time.
I remember.
I would love to have to work a job where I can go and put down after a year or two or three for my dream house.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with a warehouse.
No, and what's not good is that with a lot of these warehouse jobs, you're going to have mostly automation. And
eventually it's going to come, right?
You're going to have the seasonal jobs where you will have a spike in employment for the temporary positions, the holidays and whatnot. But once the holidays are over, they're only going to retain a certain amount of people.
And those are the technicians that we were talking about earlier, the people that know how to work with their hands.
Right. So, people with the skills, the know-how, the knowledge, and a lot of times backed by education.
Right.
But you don't need an education to get a great job. You can go to trade school.
Sure.
You can do some vocational training.
Okay, wait, stop right there. Did you know that Ido Benvizi, when the WLC was approved, he was supposed to start or at least do a technical school? Why hasn't he broken ground for that? What, he's going to wait until the warehouse gets built and then do it?
I'm going to have to research that because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was supposed to give $1 million and build a technical school for the people to take care of the robots and stuff like that, because not everybody's going to be a box mover.
So vocational training, vocational school, for how many people were they looking to fill up a classroom?
I can't remember the specifics of that,
right.
but all I know was that was part of the deal. Now, why hasn't he built that yet? That was done over 3 years ago. Why hasn't? I mean, think about the people that could have been trained already to be technicians.
You would have a workforce that can fill perhaps all the warehouses here
by now.
I mean, 3 years.
And a lot of young people would say, "Yeah, I don't want to, I want to make $25 an hour."
Right. Because vocational training could be the same as taking an 8-week college course. So over 3 years, taking the 8-week, vocational courses. Right. That's a huge workforce we don't have.
He was supposed to do that in conjunction with the Moreno Valley College. Where is it at? How come they don't talk about that? See, I'm trying to give and I tell people I try to give these guys a chance.
Right.
But that's the thing. Gutierrez should be championing. We got to get this guy. Okay. Right. You're an Army guy. I'm an Air Force guy. We know logistics. The basic thing of logistics. You do not build this super massive tank.
Right.
unless you have the technicians and the maintenance guys and the fuelers and the infrastructure to support its.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just common sense.
Exactly. It's just like Ford, you know, how Ford industrialized, you know, the revolution of building cars, having, you know, the factory line.
Sure.
Just like with the tanks, you got to have that factory line in place.
Right.
The infrastructure. You don't have that factory line in place, it's not going to get built.
Right. So we've got the factory line.
Right.
Okay, then we start getting the materials, you get the supplies,
Right,
and then it starts rolling.
Right.
But you don't build the warehouse and say, okay, oh my gosh, I've got 14,000 trucks that are coming here a day. I have no truck stop. I have no transmission shop. I have no tire shop. I have no way to support where these trucks are going to park and wait.
You have no people on the ground you know, with the labor ready to work.
So what I'm saying is, and when you tell the Edoites that, and you tell people that, especially, and the Edo preys on the older people that don't even give a damn. When you tell them that, you're thinking, yeah, they know it makes sense, but you're like, okay, we're not worried about the WLC. They ain't going to be built in 20 years. Okay, why isn't you building truck stops? Where are the fuel pits? Where are all these things?
Well, you know, you've deployed before.
Yeah.
When you build plans for one purpose, to execute them.
Execute the plan, right?
You execute the plan. And the purpose for executing the plan is to, if you're on the battlefield, you want to win the war. You want to win your battle. But here in this town, if you prepare plans and you don't execute them, you're not doing your part to provide for the town that you promised. For example, if you're going to promise building a location, a facility, let's say a restaurant, for example, you submit plans to the city approves them. Now you're approved. You go through the process up to environmental, the licensing requirements, the whole 9 yards. I'm just getting into my background of business, business administration. Once you have all your ducks in order, you dotted your I's, you lined up your Q's, your P's and Q's, and you got the green light to go, you execute.
Execute it. And go.
And you go. And then you just follow up that, okay, here's the first part of my plan, infrastructure. Infrastructure's built. Part 2 of the plan, let's build the facility. Part 3 of the plan, let's start hiring people. Part 4 of the plan, you got your grand opening.
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. You know, it's like we're not thinking, we're putting the horse before the cart versus, you know, if we're going to do this, I'm not against the way. Let's do it right. Let's do it. And that's why I don't believe it's going to be actually made.
Well, it's a good argument, you know, about putting the horse before the cart. Likewise, you know, for those that are outdoor people that like to go fishing, it's like you're going out fishing, you're casting your line, but you got no bait on it to catch any fish.
Makes sense. You know, man, and it's just, we're a commuting city, and a lot of people are making that good money in LA or wherever they're coming back in. So that's one of the reasons why I started the Inland Empire Informer, because what I saw when I ran for election was people weren't informed. They wouldn't even know what's going on. You're like, you know, hey, you know, and then now we've got these things, and then of course we're going against big money, which is kind of hard to.
Wow. In business, I read a lot in my studies about, you know, big money, and big money can make a city or can break a city.
Exactly.
And what I would say to your listeners out there, to your audience, take all the information that's presented, whether it's from people running for office, people that are incumbent in office, take their information and, you know, analyze it. Look at it from the perspective of, okay, I'm a voter. I don't know what's going on. I need to find out what's going on. I need to be informed. And research that against other information presented from the other side of the coin, good, bad, or ugly. But you're in politics. That's what it's all about. You got to have a thick skin, be in the game, but do it the right way.
Right.
Do it the right way.
Okay, we're going to get